Hello everyone. So today we are going to cover a very important news in India's neighborhood, that's China and Afghanistan relations. So this is an article written by Vivek Karju, former ambassador to Afghanistan in Indian Express. So today we are going to decode this article. China and Afghanistan economy, terror attacks, reshaping ancient relationship. As Afghanistan's violent conflict with neighbor Pakistan continues, its acting foreign minister Amir Khan Mutaki met with China's special representative to the country, Yu Xiong. On Sunday, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs then posted on X that Yu would make efforts to reduce tension between Kabul and Islamabad. So here, the tension between Kabul and Islamabad have increased in the recent times. So China is coming forward in help and is trying to reduce the tension between Kabul and Islamabad. China has a stake in peace in both Pakistan and Afghanistan, with a comprehensive relationship, especially strategic in the former and mainly economic interest in the latter. So यहाँ हम लोग समझेंगे कि अफ़गानिस्तान में और पाकिस्तान में दोनों जगह पे China has its interest, but both interests are different. So in Afghanistan, China has an economic interest. You know why? Because in Afghanistan is a hub of critical minerals, and China is the world's largest country refining critical minerals. Approximately 80% of the critical mineral is refined by China, and 60% of the rare earth elements are also refined by China. So it's a very big economic interest for China in Afghanistan. And there's one more interest, we'll see later. And in Pakistan, we know that the CPEC corridor, the China-Pakistan economic corridor that goes from Kashgar to the Gwadar port in the Arabian Sea. This gives China a direct access to the Arabian Sea for its energy security, and also provides an alternate route to the Malacca Strait, as Gwadar port is near to the Strait of Hormuz. So it gives China a corridor to move toward the Arabian Sea for its trade and business and energy security mainly. Next is terror attack and economic growth. The instability in Afghanistan impacts China. In January, a suicide bomber struck a Chinese restaurant in Kabul. 7 persons, including a Chinese national, was killed. 9 Chinese nationals died in 3 separate terrorist attacks in the country last year. China is always wary of Uyghur extremism, establishing a firm base in Afghanistan. So this is the second interest of China in Afghanistan. The Uyghur extremism, establishing a firm base in Afghanistan. As we know that China shares border with Afghanistan, and the province of China, that is the Xinjiang province, this shares border with Afghanistan, and here the Uyghur Muslims reside here, which have a conflict with the government of China. So they have made a base in Afghanistan for seeking help and for some anti-China activity that they do against the Chinese government there. So these factors have led to caution in Chinese approach towards Afghanistan. However, this has not meant a lack of Chinese desire to cultivate its long desired economic and security interest in the country. So in China's interest lies in Afghanistan from a very long time. बहुत पहले से ही China has a very great interest in Afghanistan. So this factor of Uyghur Muslims and the Xinjiang province is a hurdle in that, but China is ignoring that and trying to cultivate a long-term economic and security interest in Afghanistan. On its part, Afghanistan has been conscious of China's rise and the possible economic advantage of Sino-Afghan cooperation. Afghanistan is also conscious that China is rising, and there is a possibility of economic advantages that Afghanistan could have from the Sino-Afghan cooperation. There's a long history. So now let's read about the history. Interaction between present-day China and Afghanistan goes back millennia. Both lands were part of Buddhist world, with Afghanistan as one of its major centers. So Buddhism originated in India and spread in China as well as in Afghanistan. So both the countries were a hub of Buddhism, which connected these two countries, and the Silk Road network, which carried Chinese goods to Europe from 2nd century BC to around 15th century, traversed part of northern Afghanistan. Though the Silk Route network was through Afghanistan that helped Chinese goods to export in the Europe in the 2nd century to the 15th century BC. Here's a movie of Jackie Chan named Dragon Blade, I think. Dragon Blade. This is a very good movie about this Silk Route network during those time, the 15th century and BC and no, sorry, 2nd century BC to the 15th century. During that time, he was a commander of that place, and he was trying to protect its route. So you can watch this movie to know more about this thing. Then Afghanistan and China also interacted when Islam spread through the region. Significantly, for present time, Islam was embraced by the Uyghur Turkic people who inhabited Xinjiang and are at odds with the government. So during the Islamization of the region, the Uyghur Turkics are the people who are living in the Xinjiang province of China, and they are having a odd situation with the government. Beginning with the 19th century, Afghanistan's priority was maintaining its autonomy amid the clash between British Empire and Indian subcontinent and the Russian Empire in Central Asia. As the Great Game took place over Afghanistan between British and Russia, China became a spectator. It did not have the power or the interest to show concern in Afghan affairs. Then in 20th century, the establishment of Soviet Union meant that Central Asia and China became distant for Afghanistan, because at that time China was not a good ally with Soviets. China was a good ally of USA. The departure of the British from the Indian subcontinent and the establishment of the communist rule in China brought about a new situation for Sino-Afghan ties. A diplomatic relation was established in 1950 and Premier Zhou Enlai visited Kabul. More importantly, both countries settled their borders in 1963. China has a very conflicting border with its neighbor, but they have settled their border already in 1963 with Afghanistan. Despite this relation remained at a low ebb, the Soviet Union became Afghanistan's principal supporter in the 1950s and in early 1960s. This was a concern for China, as we know that China at that time had not had a good relationship with the Soviets, which had become estranged from the Soviet Union in the early 90s. China supported the US against Soviet. The Afghan monarchy was disposed in 1973 by King Zahir's cousin Daud Khan with the support of Afghan army officers who turned communist. So the communist revolution kind of thing took place in Afghanistan, where the King Zahir Shah was thrown from his monarchy's position. 5 years later, Daud was killed by the communists and Afghanistan was hurled in great turmoil. The Soviet Union patronized the communist rulers and moved its forces in Afghanistan in December 1979 to support them. The Afghan jihad began against the Soviets and communists. So the local jihadis in Afghanistan went against the Soviets' interference in Afghanistan and the communists there. China joined the United States, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia in helping the Mujahideens, providing weapons of Soviet origin. So China helped these Mujahideens by providing them weapons. 2 years later, the Soviet Union disintegrated. The Mujahideen stepped into center stage. In the 1990s witnessed the failure. Then the Mujahideens failed and the rise of Taliban, who took Kabul in 1996, ushering in an era of Islamist governance. China did not recognize the Taliban but maintained contacts with it through the Pakistan and directly. with the object of dissuading the group from helping the Uyghur militants. So this was China's interest lying at that time also during the Taliban's rise there. Then Taliban's rise and fall in Afghanistan. So the fall of Taliban led to the Afghan Republic, whose leaders were deeply impressed by Chinese economy. So when the Republic rule came in Afghanistan, so they were impressed by the Chinese economic development, as it was great in the whole Asia, and it wanted its involvement in Afghanistan's development as well. On its part, China did not initially get entangled in government and Taliban differences. So China stayed away from the conflict of the government and the Taliban at that time, but later tried its hand at mediating between them. But later, as always, China tried mediating between them for its own interest. The Republic and China established a strategic cooperation and partnership in 2012. China's focus remained on exploiting the mineral resources of the Hindu Kush mountain. As we have talked earlier, that Afghanistan has a great reservoirs of mineral resources, but the continuing Taliban insurgency prevented it from doing so. But when the Taliban regimes was there, it became difficult for China for extracting those minerals. China's concerns about the Republic taking strong action against the Uyghur militants continued. It also wanted to stop Afghan narcotic flow in China. So as Afghanistan is also part of the Golden Crescent, which is known for its drug flow, and it provides drug in the different parts of the Asia. So it also wants to stop that narcotic flow. So China's objective in Afghanistan did not change with Republic's fall. Like when the recent Taliban regime started and the Republic government fell there, China objectives have not changed. Its embassy continued in Kabul. This time China have continued their embassy in Kabul. It wants a stable Afghanistan, economically integrated with it, but will not get militarily involved, because China is very sure and it is only economically invested there. It is not going to get its military involved there. Already it has its conflict with India and its military is already involved there, so it doesn't want to involve it in Afghanistan, and there is no need also. It has just to maintain its economic interests there. It also wants to mediate between the Taliban and Pakistan, but is unlikely to succeed. That here China wants that the current situation between the Taliban and the Pakistan should be solved, as it had interest in Pakistan as well. If there will be conflict between Pakistan and Afghanistan, again this route will be affected. So China wants that there should not be any conflict between them. So thank you. This was me decoding China and Afghanistan relations from past to present. Thank you.